Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are. Fellow nerds, this is the Boomer Nerd, also known as George Tasker. So we're going to get back down to business, and we're going to grab hold of the spreadsheet in which we had eventually massaged all of our dates into Australian format so that they could then be recognised as dates as opposed to just a text, a series of characters in a string. Now I'm going to put this particular date back to its original format. I don't see any advantage in having it as the 4-digit year at this point in time. Alright, so at this time, before we go any further, I think I should do some saving, and I'm going to save this as a different file so that I don't go and clobber the confirmed. So I'm trying to decide what I'll save it as. So I want to save it as a spreadsheet, and I think I'll just call it Coronavirus 2020. So let's go ahead and call it that. Virus 2020, and that will give me something to work with at this stage. Now, if any of you are trying to work out why it was that we had value showing in these texts here, go back to the former 2 videos that I've done. So this is now part 3 of the spreadsheet work. What I may very well do also is remove some of this other stuff that showed the workings along the way. Unless anyone wants to a download of this stuff for themselves to investigate exactly what's going on. But as you can see, when I click on these dates, you will notice up in the top here, in that area there, you'll notice that the cell value changes, and we're going to take a look and watch. So see, we got the first cell is E1, the next one is F1, G1, H1, I1, J1, K1, and the list goes on. Okay, so now you'll notice that that there is a lot of functions in here, and this can effectively slow down the spreadsheet, especially if it's a really big one. Because a really big one means that each time you go into a cell to run the formula, okay, we'll run the date function once, we'll run the write function once, but search will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times for the search function. And I am hoping at some stage to try and make it a little bit more efficient with the use of functions. If we can make it more efficient with functions, it will speed up the performance. But right now, because it's a small spreadsheet, that kind of performance hit is not going to matter too much. What we do want to do though is we want to import some of the other data. So we're going to add a new spreadsheet, and we're going to give it a new name. So I'm going to rename it from sheet 2, which is totally boring, to something like deaths. I'm going to go back here. I don't like this particular one. I don't like the name of the thing, so I'm going to give it another name, and I'm just going to simply chop out all of the front area. So I'm using the Control and Shift key and the right arrow to jump across the words. So get rid of all of that, click OK, and now I've renamed the first tab on this spreadsheet. So we've got death, and I want one more, and we're going to call this one recovery. So we'll just rename it and recovery, or recovered. I think we'll call it recovered. It sounds better. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to deaths, and I'm going to try and see if I can import. Have we got anything in here? Insert image chart. Looking for an import. Come on, where are you? We'll just see what happens if we do open. And we'll go that. Okay. Damn, I didn't like that. Alright, all we can do is I'm just going to go Control A, select, copy, and then go back to the other spreadsheet, and then just copy everything into here. There we go, done. And we'll go back and just blow this file away. Okay, that's done. Then we'll go to the next one, and we will also open up recovered. And then we'll do the same thing here. And we will then go back. Whoops, what's happened? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. Do a copy and paste. So Control V for paste. I don't want this anymore. I only want it for getting the original source data. Okay. Now, where do we go from here? I guess one of the questions we can ask ourselves is, let's try and replicate the data in this sheet. All right. I'm going to keep the first file. I'm now going to do a save as, so as I can rip out. I'll keep the old data just in case. And because this is version 1, I'm going to put .01, and we'll save it as another file. It is my intention to get rid of all of this stuff. We don't need this stuff. If anything happens to the formulas down below, then because I removed this stuff, then it means I have done something wrong in developing the formula. Nothing's happened, so it means we're good to go. Alright, I'm going to delete a number of rows here because I don't like to see all those dates sitting down there on their lonesome. So let's begin. So I'm selecting the dates by clicking and dragging down these columns. Oh, that looks a lot better. So I'm going to right click, we're going to delete rows. There we go, looks a lot better. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in totals. I want to see the total deaths, the total confirmed for each day. So we're just going to put in the sum. So let's begin. Now we'll notice that this particular one has 126 rows. We'll just check these other ones. They should have the same number of rows. There we go, 126 and 126. Good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sum each of these columns, because each of these columns is for one day. How many confirmed cases have we had since the 22nd of January for each day? Okay, so I like to know what kind of numbers I'm looking at. So I'm going to put in down here date straight out. I'm going to put here total confirmed And that's going to give me an idea of exactly what I'm looking at. So now I'm going to go to the top of the spreadsheet, click in the first column with data, then I'm going to hold down the shift key and hold down the control key, and it takes me to the bottom of that continuous line of data. Now you'll notice up here there is a sum button. It says auto sum. Now there's other things we can do, sum, average, min, max, count. And this time I don't really care how many rows of data there is. I'm only interested in sum. So there we go. It's now summed it up and says at this particular date, 22nd of January 2020, there was 555 confirmed cases. Now I want to populate the rest of these with sums of their respective columns. There's a number of ways I can do this. My preferred way is to simply click on this particular sum, copy it, and then I will paste into this whole row along here. So I've got to select that whole row. Now I paste, and as you can see, the numbers start climbing. Now obviously I'm working with yesterday's data, and that is intentional. Later on I will very quickly run across all of the data and get some more up-to-date figures. If I go and look at, let me take a look here. I'm going to try and see if I can find, here we go. So go back here, it's now going to update with the latest figures. It now says we've got 90,000 here. We've got numbers staying fairly static in China, it would appear. I'm about to find out. And we've got a total recovered of 48,000 and 3,000 dead. So we'll work out what the recovery rate is as we go along. That's one of the questions we can ask ourselves, is how do we calculate the recovery versus death rate. Okay. At this point in time, I think we're pretty much ready to create a graph. And I'm going to now just remove this last row because it's going to make it a bit hard for me to create a graph. And I'm going to create a graph. It'll end up, I don't know, maybe we'll put it down under here, I think. Okay. Alright, so let's begin. So now we block out all of the data that we're interested in. Now up the top here, there is an insert chart button. So I'm going to click insert chart. Why? What is the problem? I don't like the look of that. Let's try line graph. Well, that looks absolutely shit house. Okay. Don't like the look of that either. Alright, I'm going to blow this away. We're going to do a bit of experimentation here. So I'm going to move the total confirmed underneath. So we'll do a cut. And remember what I said before, that when you do a cut, it doesn't change the cell values that you had initially put in. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to block this out again. Go out to the end. And then I'm going to try and insert a chart. It's amazing what changing the order of things will do. Okay, so now I'm going to move, oh dear, we want to have, let's have a line. I'd rather have a line. and align with connecting spots. You notice it looks pretty dodgy at the moment. So we've got total confirmed, and now I want to give some labels to each part, and this part down the bottom here will improve as time goes by. So we're going to go to next. So it says data series in rows. You can have data series in columns too, apparently. So we're going to have it as in rows. It's the way that they have formatted the chart. They've elected to push the date columns, have the dates set up in columns, and the country set up in rows. It is possible to transpose it, but I'm not going to bother at this point in time. Okay, first row as label, first column as label. Yep, that's what we wanted. Now, why isn't the first column showing up as a label? I won't worry about that. We'll just go to the next one. Okay, so we've got total confirmed as the key, data series. Let's jump to the chart elements. So we want title, and we'll just say global infections over time. Now in the subtitle I'm going to give the source of my data, so I'm going to have to flick back to that one. So here we go. So I'm going to grab hold of this link here, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to put it into the chart here as the source of the data. Now the x-axis, we'll just simply say infections. No, not infections. We want date. That's better. Okay. Then on the y-axis we want infection. There we go. Now we can hit finish. Now I don't like where this one is located, so I'm going to move it. Move it all the way down over to this corner here. Okay, just give it one row underneath. Now I would like it to be a whole lot bigger too. It's going to make it a lot. That's better. And we'll go up, 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 and one more. Then I'm going to drag this corner, and you'll see the difference it makes to the page. Oh, isn't that nice? So now we can see we've got little marks for every second day. And this is showing the dates in a particular format. I wonder if I can change those date formats, because I don't particularly like the way it looks at the moment. It's saying Feb this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Alright, so here why is that showing the date in that kind of format? Let's go and check that. Oh, there's our problem. Alright, let's fix this up. See what that does to it. It may be something in the graph, and if it is, we're going to have to adjust it. So I'm going to adjust all of the date formats. So we're going to format the cells, all of them. So we'll set it up as date 31/12/99. Okay. Alright, we're going to see what impact that's had on the graph, if any. No. Okay. Numbers. There we go. Managed to fix the date. That looks a whole lot better. So now we've got marks for each day. And as you will observe, as time goes by, oh dear, didn't want that to happen. Ooh, Control Z is a wonderful thing. Okay. Okay, so there's our first graph. Now if you take a look at this graph, this looks pretty much like what this one does here. So let's blow this one up, take a good look at it. There you go, your first graph. We've replicated it fairly much. Isn't that nice? Right. So the next thing we're going to do is we might ask ourselves some other questions. For example, some people have been saying that China has been hiding its figures, so we don't really know exactly how many infections they have had in China. So my question is, if China is covering up, how can we get the truth of the rate of infections? Well, given that other countries are also on the infection register now, we might want to look at other countries that are of a similar style to China, but don't have the same investment in hiding the truth of the matter. One of the places that I would look at would be South Korea and maybe Japan. I'll just take a quick look at Japan. Japan is not getting a lot of infections at the moment, but South Korea has gone off like a bomb. And so has Italy. And what else have we got here? We've got Diamond Princess cruise ship. How do you like that? A non-country. And interesting, Diamond Princess cruise ship has only 705. Maybe that's all the people that are on board, I'm guessing. But no further infections. I guess it will be interesting to see if they show up in the recoveries too. I guess they would. Iran has been receiving a fair clobbering. Okay, so what we can do is we can take a look at the pattern of rise in these other countries that are not China and just see exactly what the situation is and what we can expect in terms of a rise. So we'll start with South Korea. Now the easiest thing for me to do, I think, is to replicate the data down below. So this one is on E35. So I'm going to just do a simple straight out replication. Now I'm wanting to collect data in this kind of format so that I can easily graph it. So it means I'm going to have to, let's see, we want to be in this column. So we'll stay in this one. Equals E35. Okay. Now the problem is I don't know exactly where it stops, so I'll just put in a marker. I'm on 172. Okay, so we'll have to see that I'm on 172. we'll just rip out here until we reach okay. There we go. So now, going to go all the way back in. There we are. Replicate all the numbers there. And I've just realised I need to push some dates in. So we'll just insert a row above. There we go. So we've pushed that down. Now I want to grab these dates and also copy them down there. Now watch what happens. This is going to be interesting. Okay. Oh, look at that. Doesn't that look a mess? So how are we going to fix that problem? Well, it's quite simple. Let's go in and take a look at the value. So notice now all of our E's have become E45. It's supposed to be E1, so we're going to have to change it back to E1. There is a way of stopping this from happening, and I'll show you how this works, because I'm going to be doing this a few times, and this is going to be a regular pain in the butt, having to change these every single time I move down to another date column. We'll just make sure that it all behaves itself. Okay, another E45. Now I'm doing this a slow way. There's quicker ways of doing this, but then you wouldn't see what I'm doing, would you? Okay. There we go. Let's press enter, and there it is. Okay. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, how do I get that to work so it doesn't change as I jump down the columns? And this is what we do. You put a dollar in front of the row value. When you put a dollar in front of the row value, we'll just test it, make sure it works. Yeah, it does. Okay, F2. So we're going to put a dollar in front of each of these ones. This time I'm using the mouse to just jump straight across. Too lazy to use the keyboard this time. The mouse gets me there a little quicker. There is still another way that's a whole lot quicker. We'll come to that. Okay. Alright, now press enter again. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and then go down. Whoops, I don't want to clobber that one. Now watch this. You'll notice, if you look at the formula at the top, E1 or E$1 stays as E$1, so it doesn't change as we go down. And so that's how we're going to do the formula from now on. And that way I don't have to be changing it every time I do a copy of the data, because it still points to the same row in this column. Now I did not put a $sign in front of the E. The reason being, I want these values to change as I copy out to the end. There it is. So I'm going to clobber the stuff that I don't want, and there it is, all fixed. We now have South Korea. So we're going to do a similar thing here. We're going to set up another very similar looking graph, except that we're specifically looking at the data for South Korea. This is the kind of detail that you're not getting on the web page, which I just showed you a moment ago. We'll bring that back down and we'll take a look at the as you can see, this is just giving us global figures, global patterns. I mean, that's all well and good if you're just interested in the global picture. But I want to look at other details that help me answer questions that particular graphic is not giving me. So here we go. So I'm going to now insert another chart. These charts sometimes are so freaking annoying. Anyway, we'll just put in a line, and this time we don't need that. South Korea, we want chart elements. Okay. Now, what did I put in as a... Oh, I know what I did. Okay, I'll have to go back and get it. Okay. So now I'm just going to put in South Korea confirmed cases. Let's be a bit more fancy. We want to be a bit more specifics. We want to be able to look at this independently, so somebody could say to themselves, okay, all right, it says South Korea confirmed cases. Confirmed cases what? So we'll just say South Korea could confirm coronavirus infections. Okay. Now, I just press the tab key to jump to the next line. I'm going to grab this again, copy it. Going to go back here, and we're going to paste, and the x-axis is going to be the date, the y-axis is going to be infections. And we can finish it. We can probably, can we move it? I'll try and click on it. I may have to see if we can. No. Okay. The only way I can move it, I can't move it with the keyboard, which is so flaming annoying. No. Trying to move it. It's not being very cooperative. Okay. So we'll do the same kind of thing here again. And roll it out. There we go. Just make sure. There we go. And then we'll just drag it out to size and see what it looks like when you blow it up and make it a bit bigger. How do you like that? Okay, so if we're going to try and compare, I would say we would call the 19th of February, day 0, as far as South Korea is concerned. Whereas as far as China is concerned, if we scroll back up to the top, back up here, we can consider the 22nd to be day 0. And you'll notice that it is not climbing at the same kind of rate. Now we can look at reasons for that. One of the reasons apparently was that one of the people who was infected in South Korea went to a church that had about 600 people or more in it, and apparently managed to infect a large number of those, who then went on and started to infect other people. So there was an opportunistic infection event in South Korea. Now I don't know if these other countries are the same, but we'll take a look at those in a moment. So what have we got here? This is global. I'm thinking I might change that from total confirmed to global confirmed. Here we go. And now you'll notice that the graph has changed, so it gives something a bit more informative. Down here we've got date and then South Korea. It just says South Korea. I could probably, let's Let's just do that just to make it a bit more informative. There we go, that looks much better. South Korea confirmed. Alright, now I did mention there was a couple of other countries that were probably going to be worth a closer look. So let's go and see which ones they were. So we had South Korea at 1376, 1694. Well, that looks like an interesting one to take a quick look at. So that's row 62, Italy. Alright, let's grab hold of the data for Italy. Okay, that's 62, so we'll just say E62. There's a method in my madness here, and we'll make you aware of what that is. So, right, we'll make that the date field, equals E62. We'll drag the dates down. And we'll just drag those two down. We can then replicate it once we bring it down here. Okay, so grab that, copy it. Change my mind. I'm going to grab the other one and copy the whole row. Okay. The reason for that is I don't have to stuff around looking for where the dates finish and end. Okay. Yes, we're going to clobber it, I don't care. Okay. Now, I can just copy that and then paste away. Okay. Done. So this is Italy. Now I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like. So we're going to put in another chart. Oh yes, that's not too bad. Being a bit more sensible this time. So we want a chart type of line with lines again. Done. Interesting. Preliminary assessment would suggest to me that this is very similar to the South Korean situation. Anyway, let's keep looking. So we don't need data range and we don't need data series, that's all done. But we do need put in some more information. Okay, got to go back here, grab my copy of this data here, paste it into there. Now the x-axis is the date and the y-axis is the infections, at which point we can say finished. Alright, let's drag that back over here. Okay. Drop it in there. And we'll bring that up a little bit. Go one more. And drag that down here so we can get a better look at the shape of it. Oh, isn't this interesting? Look at this one, and we'll go back and look at South Korea. Oh, look, Ma, these look very similar. And day 0 for Italy was the 20th. We said day 0 for South Korea was the 19th, so it's only one day apart. Now for So there's probably something to that story about the infection rate. Yeah, I'd say there would be something to that story about the infection event in South Korea, which has really made the whole thing explode. Now, I'm really curious over the next month or so to watch how infection rates go on in Italy and South Korea, and then compare them with China, because I think that they are going to be a barometer of just how much China has been bodgying up the figures. Now, we did say there was some data for Italy as well, so we'll go back and take, not Italy, sorry, Iran. Now, Iran had a fairly hefty infection count, and I think this is the row here, row 77. Yes, Iran. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go down and we're going to create another row for Iran. Okay. E77. That's fine. And we'll go up and grab the dates. Control C for copy. Now we go down here, drop it in. Okay. Now we're going to take that all the way out. Whoops, let's go back. Control V for paste. This is interesting. Okay. Let's begin. Control Shift and right arrow. Okay, let's go and insert another graph. Look at that. Rather interesting. Okay. Go for a line. That's better. Don't have to worry about data ranges, but we do need to worry about chart elements. Okay. Confirmed infections in Iran. Okay, go grab the source. I like my sources to be put in. Drop that in there. X-axis is going to be the date, and the Y-axis is going to be confirmed infections. That'll do. Alright, that's all the information we need to put in for now. Okay, let's drag that back down to this corner. Okay. Then we'll make a nice big, there we go, nice big graph so we can get a proper look at it. Okay, now I want to compare this with the former one. Won't let me roll up unless, okay, there we go, I jump out of the scope. So we can see Iran. Interestingly enough, day 0 for Iran is the 19th of February. day 0 for Italy is the 20th, day 0 for South Korea is also the 19th. So within a 24-hour time period, day 0 occurs in each of these countries. The other thing that's interesting is so far the shape of the curve, even though the numbers are different, the shape of the curve for infection increase is very similar for Italy and Iran. The South Korean infection rate is straightening out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few days. So we'll give it about a week or so and we'll see what happens there. Alright, so I'm not going to fool around too much more with this data here. Yeah, not particularly interested in China. Their figures are too bodgy. But I will be keeping an eye on these other figures. And we'll be trying to see exactly how they are going. Now what I'm very tempted to do, and I don't know if I will do it, but I may just be adding the columns of confirmed data in from time to time, maybe about a week at a time, and just see where we go from there. Okay, the next question I have is, what is the death rate and the recovery rate like? So we're going to get some numbers from here and we're going to plug them in to this other side. So once again I'm going to select, okay, all the way down to there. Going to click on the plus button and click on sum, and then beside this I will type in total deaths. Okay, now I'm going to do a copy and I'll do. Right, that's telling us that global deaths is nearly 3,000 as of a couple of days ago. Now, we were talking about death rate and recovery rate before. To be able to consider the death rate, what we need to do is look at the total number of people who were infected, and then, the total number of people who died, the total number of people who recovered, and use that as a value which can be used to calculate death rate, and I'll explain that properly in a minute. So this is the recovered page, and so I'm going to click on the sum again, and we can just type in here total recovered. Now the next thing we want to do is copy that out like we've done before. At least at the moment, as best as I can tell, the total recovered is far higher than the total who've died. It's not some horror scene like we might expect to find. Now I want to get the total deaths into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here total deaths, and then we're going to get that number. So the way we're going to do that is going to press the equal sign. I'm going to click on deaths, Then I'm going to click on this one here, and you'll notice it says $deaths.E127. That's what's in the formula. So at this point in time, we should be able to just press enter, and there it is. Now I'll take a look there. Once again, it says $deaths E127. So it's taking it from the deaths tab and plugging it straight in here. This lets me put all these numbers close together, which is kind of useful in a way. Now I've decided I don't like the date, these numbers sitting where they are, so I'm going to push them down a bit. So I'm going to insert row above. I'll do it one more. Yeah, no, I'll do it. No, I won't. Not yet. Escape. I want to see what confirmed has as far as its dates are concerned. Okay. So confirmed dates is one below. So if I push this down one more time, then I can put the date into here and that formula will still work. So watch this formula. So I'm going to go copy, then I'm going to put it here. Look, it works. And if you look at the formula, it's looking for E1, and the E1 it's looking at is in this first column, so it gets its value out of the top up here, even though it's not in the confirmed tab, it's in the recovered tab. So what we'll do is we'll just type in date. That's cool. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and just spread it out the rest of the way. Okay, so now we've got dates here. Why is that one bitching? Oh no, it's okay. We have to spread it out. Ah, look at that. We've got some more here that need to be spread out and widened, so we'll do that now. Otherwise it just doesn't look nice. There we go. Widened quite nicely. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the total deaths and also copy that out. Damn, why have I got an itchy face tonight? It must be the warmth. Oh, I was going to turn the fan on, but I realised it's just going to blow straight on the microphone and make an awful racket, so I'll just have to put up with discomfort for the time being. Okay. Now there's lots of things we can do here, but right now we want to look at the total deaths and total recovered and see if we can work something out in terms of death rate. Now we want to work out death rate as a percentage. And the easiest thing to do is to say, this is how we're going to do it. Death rate, let's try, rate percentage is going to be equal to the death rate itself, deaths divided by, hold on, deaths plus recovered. I'll just leave that there for you to consider. At this point in time, I think it's time for us to stop, and we'll go on to a new video where we will investigate death rates and see whether or not we can get this to work.